For the next week, I'm going to be road tripping across the Virginias to see a type of natural scenery I don't often get to explore. This part of the country has been on my list for a while now, so I'm super excited to get started. These first few days I'll just be on my own, then after that I'm going to be joined by my friend Evan, but to start we're going to head to Harpers, Ferry, West Virginia. Let's head on over. Harpers Ferry is a town in Jefferson County, West Virginia that I only recently put on my to-do list after seeing how historic and unique it was. Typically, I'm not one to highlight things like this on this channel as I tend to solely focus on natural beauty and hiking. But one of the cool things about Harpers Ferry is it has its fair share of that too. Just outside the town's limits are a handful of trails that provide scenic views of the Potomac and Shenandoah rivers, and Harpers itself actually lies at the confluence of these two. The area collectively is protected as Harpers Ferry National Historical Park, stretching over 3,745 acres, mainly in West Virginia but also continuing into Virginia and Maryland. Reason that is because Harpers Ferry is the easternmost town in the state. It's one of the few regions in West Virginia that isn't filled to the brim with Appalachian mountains, yet somehow they managed to find their way into this little crevice here. Historically, what makes Harpers Ferry so interesting is it actually had a lot of strategic importance in the American Civil War. The town became the northernmost point of Confederate-controlled territory and changed hands several times as a result of said importance. This explains the area's designation of a National Historical Park in particular, though it intrigues me more than its sister parks because, like I mentioned, it manages to have a pretty equal focus on nature too. Visually, Harpers Ferry is old and very charming, and is easily walkable due to its small size. I was stunned to learn that its population was just 269 according to the 2020 United States Census. Buildings line narrow roads and cobblestone streets and are taken up mostly by family-run businesses, predominantly restaurants and gift shops. But don't miss some of the visitor centers and museums that are integrated seamlessly into town and teach you a lot about the town's role in the Civil War. The visitor centers in Harpers Ferry are some of the most impressive I've been. There's so much history here. I had no idea the significance of Harpers Ferry in the Civil War. I knew there'd be history, but wow, this is like stepping back in time. This place is cool. There weren't too many buildings and structures that stood out independently of others, but one that you can easily see right on the way to the first trail I'd recommend is St. Peter's Roman Catholic Church. It's not too big, but just gorgeous the way it was built, and with its location perched atop a hill with the river down below, it's hard to find churches that top this in the United States. Continue past the building and you'll wind up at Jefferson Rock, which I was expecting to be a little bit of a hike, but actually as it turns out, this was more of a simple walk. What this is a unique rock formation consisting of large masses of Harper shale piled on top of each other. This is an ancient type of rock found just in this region. The uppermost slab of Jefferson Rock originally rested on a natural stone foundation, so narrow that one was able to sway the rock back and forth with a gentle push. But since the natural foundation had dwindled due to actions of weather and tourism, 4 stone pillars were placed under each corner of the uppermost slab sometime in the 1850s. This way future generations could see what the balance is supposed to look like. What stood out even more to me were the views on either side of Jefferson Rock. I loved getting that straightaway look at the Shenandoah River with the mountains boxing it in and the tops of a few buildings in town sticking out as the cherry on top. An overall beautiful sight that requires practically no effort to reach. But next was the primary reason for my visit, and that's the Maryland Heights Trail. This 4.5-mile round-trip hike rewards visitors with the best possible view of Harpers Ferry and its surroundings from nearly 1,500 feet above town. So I parked at the Harpers Ferry lower train station, which is super convenient because it's close to everything. I mean, the town is small, it's so easy to walk from one side to the other, but also you can just cross this bridge behind me and access the most popular hiking trails that overlook the town, which we're gonna do now. And I didn't realize this either. The Appalachian Scenic Trail passes right on through Harpers Ferry, and it's almost directly in the middle. So you can see Georgia's 1,025 miles, Maine is 1,167 miles. That is cool. There's 1,000 feet of elevation gain on this trail and not a whole lot of scenery change to compensate for its difficulty. One cool thing about it though is it gets its name Maryland Heights from most of the hike being in, well, Maryland. So you actually have to cross state lines. You'll cross the Potomac River on a large footbridge, which gives some already great views of the landscape. The Potomac is a very prominent river in this part of the country, as you may know if you watched my last video from Great Falls Park. It's crazy to think that having just been to Great Falls a couple hours away, that too was the same exact river. From here, you'll want to hook a left and follow the river for quite a while before turning right and beginning the actual dirt trail. Guys, in the fall, you get a lot of these little guys. They're called lanternflies, and you want to kill them. They're fast though. There we go. They harm the environment. For the record, I'm not just killing bugs for no reason. It's a fairly relenting uphill battle, but the view at the end is more than worth it. Guys, this hike is steep. I am wiped out already. About halfway through, and just a few notes about this hike. One, I heard it was quite popular, and I don't doubt that that's true, but at least when I'm here, I've hardly seen any people on this trail, which is really nice. And then the other thing, this is kind of funny in my opinion, driving to Harpers Ferry in the trailhead, you pass through Virginia, then you park in West Virginia, that's where the town is, and then the actual hike is in Maryland. So within the span of like the last hour, I've been in 3 different states.
Not only does the Maryland Heights overlook give a great sense of scale as to just how small Harpers Ferry is, but seeing the Potomac and Shenandoah rivers intersect with all the mountains around it made for an overall stunning scene. I've only visited a handful of towns and cities around the world that feature hikes to expansive overlooks of its limits, and just off the top of my head, this might be my favorite example of one of those viewpoints. There was plenty of space to walk around and get different angles, plus there must have been about 30 turkey vultures flying overhead, which only added to the immersion. Maryland Heights was the biggest draw for me visiting Harpers Ferry, and I can absolutely say it delivered for me personally. This concluded my short but super enjoyable visit to the area, which I totally recommend if you're into history or nature, as I believe it has enough of a balance to satisfy anyone. Harpers absolutely made its case as one of my favorite small towns I'd visited in America, and was a worthy stop for day 2 of my video series across the Virginias. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more content to come very soon. Bye guys.